There we go. 8:31, ready to roll. So, hi, I'm Chris, and again, happy to be with you. This is the eighth installment of our Tech Ready Parent webinars, and it's going to be the last one that we do here for the month of June. We'll talk about the schedule here in just a minute, but we're going to cover Instagram and why I believe Instagram is 15 plus, meaning age 15 plus. And I'll do a better job in this webinar than I did this afternoon explaining why I believe that. And I hope the examples will help. So a little bit of housekeeping just in terms of who we are and what we do. Doug Crawford is also with me. Doug is, he's been with me really since the beginning here at Protect Young Eyes. He's going to help with some of the moderation with Q&A and so forth that I'll point out in just a minute. But I started Protect Young Eyes about 5 years ago as I was in ministry at the time. I'm not anymore, but I was in ministry then working with junior high kids, and there was this need to answer a lot of parent questions. So we built a website, and from there have continued to grow. We help families, schools, and churches create safer digital places. And we do that through presentations when we're allowed to. Obviously, that's been a little hampered right now. But we do free content with these webinars. We do custom talks. We're already scheduling custom talks for the fall. I just want to point out that even though the pandemic has made things pretty unpredictable in terms of our ability to get together or to do, let's say, seminars in person or large assemblies, please, if you have any desire to bring us in, to bring our content to parents and to students K through 12, schedule us now. There's nothing to risk. We don't collect a deposit up front. We're not scheduling any travel till 2 weeks out. There's nothing to lose by getting us on the calendar, and then in good faith we work towards that. And if the pandemic or something else gets in the way, no big deal. We want to be flexible and of course work with you on that. So reach out to us through the website if that's of interest to you in the fall. And then finally, our app is in process, working so hard on a brand new way to deliver great content to families. There's some things that you can do to stay in touch with us during the webinar. There's a Q&A where you can drop in maybe questions about something I'm talking about, but there's also a chat. If you just want to say, hey, I'm Chris, I'm joining you from Caledonia or whatever part of the world you're from, we would love to say hi digitally here. We've had, I think, 26 countries represented from all over: the Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Nigeria, Brazil, all over the place in Europe. And so it's been fabulous to really use the World Wide Web in this capacity. So please let us know who you are, what your name is, where you're from in the chat there. And Doug would love to hear from you. We also have some certificates that tomorrow you'll get a email. Everybody who participates will get an email, and in there will be a link to a web page, and there you can find a certificate of completion if you need to print that off for continuing ed. You'll also have PDFs of the slides, or you can rewatch this, whatever you want to do there. So we want to make that easy. So here's where we've been. Look at the topics that we've covered. And if you've missed any, you can find them in our YouTube channel by just searching for Protect Young Eyes at YouTube. The Toxic Trio, Snapchat, the Skinny on Porn, TikTok, 25% Predators, Reign in YouTube, and Netflix Best Practices is what we did last week. And tonight, Instagram is 15 plus. And this is our YouTube channel that you can find quite easily. So the Toxic Trio is worth remembering, is worth reminding, just because at least here in the United States, we're in summer months. Virtual school is over, and so that means that kids are probably online maybe even more, and summer brings with it new people, new patterns, and new places. And with that, that means sometimes we're online later at night. So just keep in mind the Toxic Trio of nighttime, boredom, and bedrooms, right? That kind of darkness there at night, boredom, and bedrooms. These three things, whether you're 14 or 40, these three things often lead to greater online risk. So first, let's jump in with a poll question. As a parent or caring adult, I want you to answer this question truthfully. I use social media regularly. I'm going to launch that poll. If you could answer that question as a parent or caring adult, if I'm honest and self-assess, I use social media regularly. Just hit agree or disagree. And I'll shut down that poll in 3, 2, 1. I'll end the poll. Here, I'll share the results. 70-30. We were 75-25 this afternoon when we did this at 12:30 Eastern. So pretty consistent. That's good honesty there, right? That we use social media a lot as adults. And many of the things we'll talk about are things that we've seen too. So foundationally, again, you've heard this if you've attended our webinars. Real quickly, we believe that parents, grandparents, caring adults who are observant, engaged, and informed often have young people who learn how to use technology well. I can't guarantee it, but those three things are part of a formula that I think often produce a kid who uses technology well. And that child who uses technology well often thrives in an environment where there is high levels of digital trust. Digital trust isn't automatic. You got to earn it. And digital trust is earned here in the middle of this framework that you see here. We've developed this framework after 1,000 presentations and 5 years of working with tens of thousands of parents and grandparents just like you. But there are certain things that if we do them consistently enough, tend to produce a bridge of trust between us and our young people where they can talk to us about anything, be it pornography or what's happening online, anything, right? If we're modeling, if we're doing things with them online, they know what we love about technology and not just what we hate about technology, that they know that we're safe because we've told them we're safe and we care about them and we co-develop different controls with them. It's not just parental control, it's caring control with us together. And so this is really important to us, and maybe you'll hear undertones of it as I continue on. Now let's jump into Instagram. Friends, I'll be honest. I'm always honest, I guess, in these, so it's not like I've been lying any of the previous ones, but I am going to be extremely direct with things that I've experienced and things that I feel about Instagram. And you'll see why. Okay, I'm not going to hold much back. This is the last webinar that we're doing here in the summer. We're going to take the month of July off. So we'll consider season 1 to be the 8th that we finished here for May and June. We're going to take July off. And then Lord willing, Doug and I will figure out if we bring these back in August. The feedback has been really, really positive. And so I think we will. We're taking things a day at a time here right now. I think we will, and we'll come back. But I'm going to end this season with a really direct and honest assessment of Instagram, because there's a little bit more than meets the eye. There's 1 billion monthly average users of Instagram. And when you stack them up against the other platforms, right, those users, you can see compared to Snapchat, TikTok, there's Instagram, and then there's King YouTube. Instagram is massive, 1 billion monthly users. That's huge. Some of the other numbers around Instagram, just for knowledge and dumb facts maybe, is that it was started just in 2010, as a decade old, by Kevin Systrom and his partner Mike Krieger. Kevin was on a break, a vacation with his girlfriend then at the time. She took a photo, he didn't like it. And so like the guy literally went back to a hotel, made some code, sent it home like over a dial-up network, and made Instagram. Okay. 2 years later, sold it for $1 billion to Facebook. Not bad. In 2019, the user base was almost 50-50. Surprisingly, right? 51% female, 49% male. I think stereotypically we think more women use it, but that's not how the statistics play out. 71% of Instagram's users, though, are younger, right? Under age 35. Instagram users spend an average of almost an hour or 53 minutes a day. 500,000 of Instagram users utilize the story feature in some way. And if you don't know what Instagram stories are, you will. We'll explain it in just a minute. And this last one is super important in terms of its influence on culture, that 80% of Instagram's users make buying decisions based on what they see in the app. A ton of ad revenue that is earned by Instagram, who, by the way, if you didn't know this, right? So owned by Facebook, 3 of the top 5 largest platforms in terms of user base on earth, on the web, are owned by Facebook. You have WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, right? It's a behemoth of a company. And Instagram makes a ton of ad revenue because of that influence. On the other hand, Instagram has a reputation. Back in 2019, CNN concluded that Instagram was the leading social media platform for child grooming. And we've seen this play out over and over again. So child grooming being that process whereby somebody has a goal in mind, right? I want a nude photo, or I want to extort through credit card data or something. And they are nice and kind of groom a child and create this sort of trust with a child until they get the child to do the thing that they want them to do. And more children are being groomed on Instagram than any other platform. Other platforms get a bad rap, Snapchat and others, but Instagram is the worst. We'll unpack that a little bit more in just a minute. So poll question number 2. Does someone in your home have an Instagram account? I'm going to put up the second poll question. Is somebody using Instagram in your home right now? If you could answer yes or no, I would appreciate it. Could be anybody, could be mom or dad. Maybe grandma's got a killer Instagram account. I don't know. All right, I'll shut down that poll in 3, 2, one. I'll end the poll, share the results. 81%, that's greater than we had this afternoon. So 81% and 19%. So a lot of you have someone in the house that's using Instagram, and those 19%, I'm guessing that somebody, be it a friend or somebody in the circle of influence of your young people, probably has it. So there's almost 100% coverage there, I bet. All right, let's talk about some things that I believe. This is Chris opinion time, and it's going to be harsh, but I have spent a lot of years, a lot being, the time that Protect Young Eyes has been around. I've spent most of those years in Instagram in some way. I've, from the very beginning, spent a lot of time in this app to try to understand it because it has been so big for so long. Instagram is mostly a carbon copy of Snapchat. Therefore, if you have hard feelings about Snapchat, then you should have similar feelings about Instagram. Snapchat gets a bad rap, but Instagram has all the same features, okay? Core business is a little bit different. Snapchat's core business is disappearing photos. Although Instagram has disappearing photos, its core business is photos that are perfectly, filtered and look wonderful and not disappearing, but they have the same features. Okay, so I just want you to keep that in mind. Number two truth is this, that the Protect Young Eyes, mostly me, has seen more horrific content and language while using Instagram than with any other app. And friends, it is not even close. There's no other app that's even in the zip code of the content and the words and the DMs and the things that I have personally experienced inside of Instagram. Does this mean that every kid experiences the things that we have? No. But we've worked really hard to impersonate normal behavior of normal kids. And we've experienced things that I wish I have never experienced before, okay? So I'm gonna be really honest about those things as we get going into the features here. You'll see what I mean. All right, let's talk about some of these features. Pictures, comments, stories, direct message, DM, IGTV. I'll just cover that one right now because it's not worth a ton of effort, but it's basically a YouTube channel that lives within Instagram TV. So think of YouTube videos that live right inside of Instagram. That's what that is. And then hashtag. So let's start off with photos. It's all about the pictures. So here's my own phone. I'll tap on Instagram. And you can see if I tap down at the bottom where the magnifying glass is, that's the explore. And here's just a feed of photos from random accounts based on the algorithm thinking about things that my account would like because of things that I have followed. We happen to follow a lot of other accounts of females who run internet safety business, and therefore it's showing me a lot of photos of moms. But the other thing with photos here is the filters, right? Take a photo and put a different filter on it and you can make it look beautiful. So that's what pictures are. Some other things to remember about pictures is that, right, they can be beautiful. You can do a lot of awesome things. Photographers either really wish it didn't exist or they've embraced it as a marketing tool. But there's also this comparison that is constantly going on, I think, with a lot of us, either men or women. Young girls maybe tend to do it a little bit more, but there's this comparison where you're always confronted with perfect photos and just wonderful dinners and toes by the swimming pool on spring break that are perfectly manicured, right? Everybody on Instagram looks beautiful and wonderful and all put together. And there's some whispers that go along with that. If you're a young person, whispers around my worth as I'm looking and seeing what I wish I looked like, and I look in the mirror and I see something different. And I've worked with teens long enough to know that they have confirmed that for me. And they've confirmed that this is what the Instagram whisper cycle looks like, right? If you're a young lady, you see, somebody else who has a beautiful bikini photo maybe on Instagram, and you start to say, I wish I looked like that. So I'm going to take a perfect photo. At least I think it is. I put it up there because I want to get a certain number of likes. Oh, wait, it's not getting enough likes. And so I quickly take it down. And then I start to ask myself, what's wrong with me? And they've said, yep, Chris, that's exactly, I've taken photos down and I've done that. And I get it. There's that whisper that's going on inside of Instagram. Friends, there's also comments, right? You can post a photo and underneath it, just like you can on Facebook, you can post comments. Now, a little bit of warning. I'm just going to say that I'm going to show you, and I showed this also during the Predator webinar that we did 3 weeks ago. When we were doing our own testing after that March 2019 CNN article, and we wanted to confirm things for ourselves, we created test accounts impersonating a 12-year-old girl who liked a few photos, was into cheerleading, and was curious about modeling and these sort of things that maybe a young lady might be interested in. And then we just put our account out there and waited and did nothing to see what would happen. What was the algorithm going to do? What kinds of people would notice our behavior and our activity? And so what we discovered through this blog post here is that the comments in Instagram can be a place where pedophiles are actually exchanging information with each other. And they are looking for others who can trade certain types of photos with them. So in other words, they're using the comments as a way to network with each other. These are straight up actual screenshots from Instagram of things that we experienced. And that's the comments, and you can't turn it off, right? That's a feature that I wish Instagram, knowing that millions of young people use this app, I wish that there was a parental control toggle that I could turn off comments, that it could be maybe just about the pictures, but you can't. There are very few parental controls. Stories, what are stories? Stories are popular, but they were copied from Snapchat. Snapchat innovated stories, this 24-hour block of time where you can post something about the story of the last 24 hours of your life. And people are so creative in their stories, and there's all kinds of options. So if I were to click again into our Instagram profile and to click on one of the story discs there, this is where the team and we've posted different content from presentations that I kind of pulled together here all in one. So you can see what story content looks like, where you're tagging and hashtagging and where am I, right? Here's Doug in St. Louis and Rose, his wife, flying home from somewhere. I don't even know where. And these photos are more raw than the polished photos that you saw in the regular Instagram feed of just different things that we've experienced. We want people to say, hey, in the moment, here's what the cool thing was that was going on. So that's stories. So we've talked about pictures, comments, stories. Now let's talk about direct messages, okay? Direct messages are another feature that it's awesome if I know who you are, but has great fault within Instagram, because from the beginning, for whatever reason, even if I have a private account, Instagram has made it so that I can direct message with anybody. Anybody can direct message me if they know how to look of a photo, look at a profile, and then direct message me. Now, you can turn off direct message notifications, meaning that I can turn off the notifications and I can turn off DMs just naturally jumping right into my inbox. Instead, I have to approve them. But I can't just flat out turn off direct messages, even from people who I don't know. So the next slide that I'm going to show you, again, warning, it's not safe for kids. It's in that blog post. I don't think I've shown this in a previous webinar, I would remember. It's in that blog post about the testing that we did with the test accounts, but these are actual direct messages that we received in that test account, page after page of them, waking up every morning for a couple of weeks with 8, 9, as you can see on the right-hand side, 10 different requests just waiting for me to open, of men showing me all kinds of things, as you can see in the photos that were being sent to this test account, totally unsolicited, other than the fact that they saw that this cute 12-year-old girl profile had spent a little bit of time liking and commenting on photos related to cheerleading. That's it. And you might say, oh, protect young eyes, you're just going out and trying to find trouble. No, friends, there was no trying to find trouble. We did that, and then we did nothing. And we let the algorithm do the rest. We let the features do the rest. And this was the result. And we're not the only ones. Bark, an organization that we highly recommend for monitoring social media, mostly on Android, a little bit on iOS, but iOS makes it hard for everybody. They put together a video where one of their employees, a woman who looks quite young, she impersonated an 11-year-old, an actual 11-year-old, and they made it so that she fit all the criteria with the type of account. They actually created a whole bedroom for her where she was taking photos, and they again put her out there and just waited. And the video, you've got to go to Google and type in Bark Predator video and just watch it. it went viral. Tens of thousands of people liked it. You can see 6,800 comments just on this version of it in Facebook, and it's also in YouTube, where it was shared thousands of times or viewed tens of thousands of times. And so watch it, because I think it's indicative of some of the predatory activity. And friends, we're coming out of a time where kids have been online more than ever. Do you think predators knew that? Do you think predators took note of the fact that kids are stuck at home on their devices now more than ever? I think so. So go ahead and watch that. All right. So then we have hashtags. Hashtags are great fun, right? You can almost create a whole language with hashtags at the end of something, just to sound sort of, you know, a neat little quip or something witty at the end. Okay. But hashtags, they categorize photos, right? Hashtag spring break, hashtag Father's Day 2020, hashtag Throwback Thursday, or whatever it is. You put that on there, and then I can search for a hashtag that goes across all of Instagram, across all of the accounts, and grabs all the photos that fit that category and shows them to me all at once. The problem with that feature, the hashtag feature, is that it allows people with bad intent to drop nasty stuff in innocent hashtags. So this is a notorious predator. We've reported him, had him taken down. He just shows right back up because you can create an account so easily. He drops his photo, this Snapchat name that he has, into certain hashtags all the time. Here, beachwear and kiss, where he's saying 34-year-old daddy. He's looking for 13 plus old girls. And then he's leaving his Snap name so that they can go interact in Snapchat, where the evidence disappears. So if you were in our Predator webinar, you might remember me saying that, you know, Snapchat gets all the bad press, and it earns it. But what's often forgotten is that Instagram is where the activity probably began. So I'm an outdoors guy. I love hiking and running. Just finished a run here a little bit ago. Instagram is the trailhead. Snapchat is the destination. And so since 75 and 76% respectively across Instagram and Snapchat of teens have those apps, chances are they have both. And predators know that. So that's one way, again, just something to be aware of. Does this mean that every kid who sees that is going to click on it and do something about it? No, probably not. I'd say most of them are going to be disgusted by that and go, what the heck? And they're not going to do anything. But should we have open and honest conversations? Say, hey, you know, there's some weirdos out there who are going to drop some stuff in, just like throwing a fish hook in water. Don't bite, honey. Just don't. If you ever see any of that stuff, just ignore it. Tell me about it. Let's call it out so they know what to do. So speaking of what to do, what's a parent to do, right? I'm going to stop the share because it's not all hopeless, friends. I'm going to share my screen here, different spot here. I want to show you our website, protectyoungeyes.com, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And there, if you go to apps, and if you click on apps, you'll see our whole wall of apps that we've reviewed. And our write-up of Instagram is very, very detailed. Again, we've been in it for a long time. There are 6 things that we would ask parents and caring adults to consider if a young person has Instagram. And they are these 6 things that you see on the screen here, highlighted green. Number 1, make their account private. Number 2, check who is in their follower list from time to time and ask them, do you know all of these people? Many times, not many times, I'd say it's not unusual that a child would simply accept, you know, a follower request. Why? Because having a lot of followers can equal popularity. So there's some desire to have a large follower list. You may just want to check on that. Number 3, ask them specifically if they have any private or fake accounts that are called Finstas. Now, don't freak out. If your child has a Finsta, don't freak out. It's no different than, you know, having, you know, a photo album that you only show your best, closest friends versus a photo album that maybe you show other people, right? And so sometimes a fake separate account in Instagram can simply be a way to have a different type of tribe, a different type of photo that I'm going to share, instead of always us stereotypically thinking it's for bad intent. It oftentimes isn't, but it's still worth a question to just ask about that. Number 4, you as a parent or caring adult, and over 70% of you do based on the poll, create your own Instagram account to get familiar with the app. So over 70% of you said you have social media. I'm not sure how many of you actually have Instagram, but if you have someone in the house who has Instagram, which 80% of you said you do, then you should get in there and be familiar with it and click around and get familiar with some of the features that we've called out here. Ensure you've had conversations with your kids about everything, including porn, predators, drugs, all are abundant on Instagram. And if you want to monitor, at least to the extent anything can be monitored, Bark and Covenant Eyes are the only two social media monitoring apps out there that can do anything in Instagram, okay? On Android, Covenant Eyes takes screenshots. So if you have a young person who maybe is looking at a lot of inappropriate things, that screen accountability may capture some of that and send it to you in a report. Bark, on the other hand, not only is looking for inappropriate content in the photos, but they're also using their machine learning. They have an algorithm that looks for comments that are a certain way, for self-harm, for violence, and things that are mentioned in the comments, and it's pretty robust. So those are two platforms that we recommend. So friends, not many of the problems that we talked about earlier can be mitigated by parental controls that we've explained here. Much of a young person using Instagram well simply comes from a young person choosing to use Instagram well. Yes, Covenant Eyes and Bark can identify some egregious things, but for the most part, a young person using Instagram well is going to come more from the relational side of parenting and from a trust that's been built with them, because Instagram doesn't make it easy to turn off, to monitor, to do much inside of the app itself. So in the email you'll get tomorrow after the webinar, probably around 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow night, it's around 24 hours later, you'll get a link that'll include this. And each of these 6 things has great detail underneath, right? So number 1, make their account private. Here, how to create a private account on Instagram. Number 2, check who is in their follower list. Okay, here, how do I check my kids' followers on Instagram? And you can see screen by screen, how to do that. So want to try to make it as easy as possible. Those are some of the things that we recommend. Let me get back into the presentation here. Those are the things that we want parents and caring adults to do. So based on what we have covered here in Instagram tonight, or maybe it's morning where you're at, if it's tomorrow on Friday, what do you think is the right age for letting a child first use Instagram? I'm going to have a poll here for the right age. I'm going to have 13, 14 to 15, 16 to 17, or 18 plus, meaning you think it's an adult app. Now, I don't have an under 13. I'm just hoping that many of us are going to choose not to, because in the United States, we're really not allowed to legally. We shouldn't. And I just think that sends a bad message to kids to let them use the app under age 13 when laws would say otherwise. So I'm going to stop that poll in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the poll. So, no surprise, I've spent quite a bit of time talking about some of the most horrible parts of Instagram. So no surprise that the response here is bent probably a little bit older. What I don't want to come out of this presentation is a fear-based approach to Instagram. Are there parts of Instagram that all of us, whether you're 14 or 40, should avoid? Absolutely. Is it possible to use Instagram well? Yeah, it is. But if a child uses Instagram, I believe it should be surrounded by a ton of love and care and intentionality. My oldest child is my daughter, Lauren. She turned 15 in December, and she got an Instagram account when she got her first iPhone there in December. And that for her was the right age. And she has proven very trustworthy. She likes some of my pictures. I've promised not to like hers because that was embarrassing that way. She's only allowed to like mine if she wants to. So this is an agreement that we had. But she's proven trustworthy. 15 is the right age for her. And I just think in general, let's let middle school be middle school. There's enough drama in middle school. Let's let them enjoy that time and not amp it up with neural activity that they're not ready to handle. And let's save it for something slightly older. So just to finish off here, right? Instagram, friends, was the primary platform that we used to put in front of US senators to say, this is what's happening inside of Instagram. All of those screenshots that I showed you and worse I put directly in front of United States senators and said, friends, this is what is happening. Because although they have staffers who do well for them on social media, these are men and women who are decades removed from what's actually happening on these platforms. And that's why we were invited to speak in front of the Senate. That's why we're currently working with them on legislation this week that could radically change some of the ability to hold Instagram accountable in other places. So it has been an app that's been very important to us as an organization. And speaking of apps, we are still working very hard, and July is still looking probable for us to release an app that we're so excited to show you to help you do technology together. You've probably gotten a sense that we believe that parents and kids learning and doing technology together is the way to build digital trust. And we're building something that we hope is special that will make that happen. You can stay in touch with us even through July when we're not doing these webinars. We have a free weekly newsletter that you can receive by simply texting the word protect to the number 66866 if you're in the United States. Outside of the US, just visit the website because that won't work with your cell towers. But visit the website, drop in your email in the pop-up, and then anybody can follow us on, coincidentally, Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. And here we have finished season 1 of our Tech Ready Parent webinars. So friends, I hope this has been helpful for you. Doug has been plowing away through questions that have been dropped in. I'm going to spend a few minutes looking at those that are still open, so we'll clear some of those out. But if you're not waiting for a question to be answered at this point, I wish you well. Hope you have a great rest of kind of the July here. You stay healthy and well, and look for us to maybe spin these back up. And if you're waiting for a question to be answered, we'll get to it right now as soon as we can. Okay. Have a good night.